Hello everyone, thank you very much for listening to my presentation. My name is Luhur Setiadi, or you can call me Luhur or Adi. I am a MSc student from Zoology program from Biology Department, Chulalongkorn University. My research is focusing on biodiversity, herpetology, and the environmental change on herpetofauna, which means a study on amphibian and reptile. So today I would like to present a part of our previous collaboration project to reveal hidden diversity in underestimated areas in Indonesia. The article entitled The Ecology and Cultivation of Oreoprene monticola with reference to vocalization and predicted habitat suitability. So in this poster presentation, first I would like to present some background information and the objective of our research. Secondly, I will explain about the material and methods that we are using in our research. Lastly, I will show the significant result and the conclusion of this research. Without further ado, let's move into the introduction part. So, some of you may have known Bali and Lombok as popular tourist destination in Indonesia. However, these considered rich biodiversity regions are threatened with extinction due to tourism development, urbanization, and deforestation. This factor will threaten the enigmatic living animals, including the Lombok cross frog, one of the endemic species, which mean only occur to some part of areas in Bali and Lombok. This species is unique by having the size of fingertip. The froglet also directly emerge from the eggs, not through the usual metamorphosis, which means they don't have tadpole form actually. However, the population are categorized uh, as endangered due to the rare occurrence of the population. Both the island of Bali and Lombok are isolated, which may give rise to many variation in characters and in some cases prove to be a distinct species. Yet, this such crucial information, including their habitats, behavior, and variation for the conservation management is lacking. So, considering the lack of this information, we aim to fill the gap of information on its ecology and variation, and to predict the probability of distribution for future conservation. Now you have known the background information and the aim of our research. Next, we will move into the material and method. This part is divided into three parts, including the study site and surveys, called characteristic, and distribution probability analysis. So based on the previous record, we survey their only known population in Bali and Lombok as shown in point A in Bali and point B in Lombok. Then we conduct the field observation using visual and counter survey method or FAST, which means a direct observation in January to February 2011. Lastly, we observe and record for essential information on the GPS location and variation in morphology and ecology. For the call characteristic, we record their call, which is only male frogs that are able to produce the sound using audio recorder and convert it into VFE files. The data were analyzed using Adobe Audition software. The character was investigated by looking into the sound wave and their spectrum. Next, by the availability of the GPS location, we were able to predict their distribution both in Bali and Lombok using species distribution modeling methods by combining the GPS and microclimatic factor, including weather, temperature, elevation, and many more. To do this analysis, we are using ArcGIS and Maxent software, so we could generate the maps that show their predicted distribution. Now you have known the study site and the method that we are implemented in the research. Next, we will move into the significant part, the result and discussion. This part will be divided into three parts, including microhabitat characteristic, the called characteristic and body color variation, and the distribution probability and elevational distribution. Okay, let me walk you through that by starting from the microhabitat characteristics. So based on our observation, it was clear that the population in Bali, shown by the figure A, and Lombok, shown by figure B, has slightly different characteristic on their microhabitats. The microhabitats in Bali population is steeper than Lombok, but the leaf litter in Lombok population is denser than Bali. Moreover, the frogs can be found along the epiphyte ferns which attach to the tree, which you can see at the figure A, but still occurs on the leaf litter in both population. As you can see based on the bar graph, which showing the light bar which indicate terrestrial behavior and dark bar which indicate arboreal behavior, this suggests that the frogs are semi-arboreal frogs. So the frogs possess slightly different microhabitat and include as semi-arboreal frogs based on our observation. Next, to the call characteristic and body color variation. Based on many parameters in vocalization, by investigating the amplitude and the frequency of the calls, as you can see on the picture, it reveals that they possess differences in call characteristics, but still more analysis is needed. Next, as you can see from the picture, it is interesting that the species have many variation in which Lombok population has more variation than Bali population, perhaps due to their adaptability into more various environment. So based on this result, yes, they have many variation. This finding indicate a possible cryptic species, which mean an unrecognized species within a species complex. Lastly, we are gonna move into the distribution probability. This is a picture showing the elevational distribution on the upper part and the predicted distribution on the lower part. Based on the elevational distribution map, you may want to look into the color indicator. The species can only be found above 1,000 meter above sea level. Next, based on the predicted distribution analysis, as you can see in the maps, the species is occur on several fragmented area. So basically, I can say that this is a bad news because the species is only able to live in high elevation. Therefore, subtle change on their environment will be detrimental to their population. Moreover, the fragmented areas indicate that the species are prone to extirpation or extinction. The number of population will be decreasing and might be gone in the future. This brings us to the last part of the poster presentation, the conclusion. It can be concluded that Bali and Lombok population possess a slightly different microhabitats. The species have variation in color and call, which indicate a possible cryptic species. However, the population are prone to extirpation due to the fragmented population, so the conservation effort is urgently needed for the fate of the species in the future. This is the end of my presentation. If you want to have the detail, please feel free to download our published version. But if you have any question, please feel free to ask. I'll be glad to answer all of your questions. Thank you. See ya.